London's intricate alleyways and streets harbour many hidden narratives. Welcome to this Payments Unpacked video, where a dropped piece of paper unravelled into a suspected mugging, which ultimately unravelled into a saga involving the mafia, drug barons and the IRA. Delve into this astonishing story in London's financial past. Just off the main thoroughfares across the City of London lie a hidden network of charming alleys and quaint streets. My favourite is Pope's Head Alley, which connects Lombard Street and Cornhill. But today's video focuses on another street, a street that unwittingly became the backdrop for one of London's most infamous financial events. It all started when 4 pieces of paper were accidentally dropped in a street, which unwittingly led to the biggest robbery in the City of London's history. Join us as we unravel the story behind the 4 pieces of a paper and the astonishing events this harboured. The 4 pieces of paper at the centre of these events were accidentally dropped in Throgmorton Avenue. In January 1990, a report on the news covered the story of a courier that had lost the equivalent of 4 million, equivalent to £10 million in 2021, in bearer bonds in central London after they had fallen out of a briefcase being carried by a courier working for Rowan Pitman, who were a subsidiary of S.G. Warburg & Co. Before electronic transfers become the standard in banking, money was often couriered between institutions in the form of bearer bonds, and these bearer bonds were transferred to keep the liquidity in the British financial system. A 23-year-old surveyor had picked up the 4 certificates of deposit on Throgmorton Street outside the stock exchange and then had returned the bonds unharmed. However, the news report that had already caught the attention of a British crime syndicate. As bearer bonds entitled the holder to the amount denoted on the certificate without the need for proof of ownership, it meant that getting access to large amounts of the bonds would be a considerable score for the syndicate. But there was just one kink in the plan. If the heist had appeared to be undertaken by a syndicate, the bonds would be voided and rendered useless. They needed to find a way of getting their hands on the bonds without alerting the authorities that it was part of a larger conspiracy. We see from this background story that rather than exploit the situation, the 23-year-old surveyor chose honesty. Having found the 4 certificates of deposit, the surveyor promptly returned the certificates to their rightful owner, and it's good to see that his integrity and selflessness didn't go unnoticed. As a token of the gratitude, he received a small reward, a magnum of Laurent Perrier champagne. Just 4 months later, the unfortunate mishap of the 23-year-old surveyor dropping 4 pieces of paper on Throgmorton Avenue was used as a case study for a major financial crime, right in the middle of the City of London. On the morning of the 2nd of May 1990, 58-year-old John Goddard, an employee of financial broker Shepherd's, who were a subsidiary of Cater Allen, was walking along Nicholas Lane, an alleyway in the City of London. He was carrying 301 certificates worth £292 million, which is equivalent to £710 million in 2021, and these certificates were bearer bonds in a briefcase, of which 122 million were certificates of deposit and 170 million were HM Treasury bills. Mr. Goddard was taking Bank of England Treasury bills and certificates of deposits from banks and building societies, and these bonds were in bearer form, as good as cash to anyone holding them. Suddenly, a young man in his 20s appeared and mugged Goddard at knife point. The robber is widely believed to have been Patrick Thomas. Patrick Thomas lived on the Turnham Road Council Estate in Brockley, South London, with his stepsister and her family. He presented himself as merely being an ordinary person on the estate, but he was involved in criminal enterprise, such as drug dealing and robbery. This seemingly random knife-point mugging unleashed a chain of events that reverberated through the world of crime and finance. Initially, it appeared that the operation unfolded as intended, despite the Times reporting the following day that the heist resulted in a worthless haul, indicating that the perpetrator stands to make not a penny from the crime. However, this narrative was strategically perpetuated by the Bank of England, deliberately supplying misinformation to the media. Although the bank had circulated the serial numbers to financial institutions globally, the bearer bonds retained their cash value, remaining viable for redemption. The Swiss connection, which was supposed to launder the money, didn't work out. Therefore, the syndicate was forced to seek other options in the criminal underworld. The New York Mafia became interested since they were already involved in a scheme to launder US bonds in London. The contact man in the UK was Keith Cheeseman, who had previously made false loan applications to support a lavish lifestyle, which included becoming chairperson of Dunstable Town Football Club. In 1975, he faced charges of extorting £287,000 and he was remanded for a week. His arrival at court in a silver chauffeur-driven Rolls-Royce added to the spectacle. Subsequently, he was sentenced to 6 years for conspiracy to defraud the Beneficial Finance and Loan Society through fictitious loan applications. Told about the heist, Cheeseman went to work liaising with associates such as Raymond Ketteridge. He dispatched a portion of the stolen bonds to Mark Osborne in the US. Osborne in turn arranged a rendezvous with a mafioso, Tony DiPiano, at a New York bar, delivering 10 bonds, each valued at £1 million. But unbeknownst to Osborne, DiPiano was an undercover FBI agent, and Osborne's subsequent arrest led him to collaborate with law enforcement, ultimately deciding to betray his associates. The FBI allegedly recorded the conversation between Osborne and Cheeseman until Osborne disappeared in August 1990, and he was later found murdered. The syndicate in London became to realise that it was also infiltrated by an informer, since the City of London police swiftly began to recover the bonds. Initially, the police held the hope that the mugging incident might have been an unfortunate accident, anticipating the possibility of recovering the discarded certificates. However, mounting evidence gradually unveiled the meticulous nature of the crime, promoting the establishment of Operation Starling. Soon they had reports of a bond turning up in Northern Ireland, and someone tried to deposit a bond at NatWest Bank in Glasgow. In summer 1990, 80 certificates worth $77 million were recovered during an allegedly routine check at Heathrow Airport on a flight arriving from Dublin. 3 Irishmen were arrested and customers stated, "We did not know the bonds were coming in. We found them by pure chance." In reality, the individuals were under surveillance, notably Thomas Coyle, recognised as a known fence. Coyle swiftly acquired 80 of the stolen bonds, recognising their significant value. He then enlisted John Gilligan and Jim Danger Burney to assist in selling the bonds. Unable to find buyers in Ireland, they devised a strategy to sell the bonds to mafia connections in the US. They planned to execute this scheme through John Francis Conlon, known for his ties to multiple security agencies and arms dealers, including individuals like Monza Alcazar and Oliver North. The plan was sabotaged at the first stage when Coyle, Anthony, Rooney and Edward Dunn were arrested at Heathrow. The bonds were discovered in Rooney's luggage, and all 3 men maintained their innocence. When the case came to trial at Knightsbridge Crown Court, all 3 were released on technicalities, and Coyle later brought a racehorse which he named 77 Mil. Operation Starling retrieved $80 million worth of bonds in Cyprus, and other raids occurred in the Netherlands, Scotland, Singapore and West Germany. In September 1990, a connection to the Provisional Irish Republican Army, the IRA, surfaced when an individual deposited a package at the Aeropuerto offices in Miami, designed for delivery to Lima in Peru. A subsequent search by US Customs disclosed that the package held £71 million in stolen bonds. Shockingly, the IRA aimed to barter these bonds with Colombian drug barons seeking money and narcotics in exchange. The smugglers concealed the bonds ingeniously within 2 Miami phone books. Raymond Ketteridge faced arrest alongside other individuals charged with the handling of $70 million in stolen bonds. However, in July 1991, the prosecution against him was dropped in London. Later, Keteridge successfully fought against extradition from Cyprus to the US. The charges against him pertained to money laundering linked to the heist. When law enforcement thwarted a mortgage scam intended to utilise stolen bonds as collateral, it led to the arrest of John Traynor in 1990. The City Bonds robbery is seen as one of the largest heists in history, in terms of the amount taken, dwarfing other crimes in the UK, such as Brinksmat, the Great Train robbery, the Knightsbridge Security Deposit robbery, Northern Bank robbery, and the Securitas Deposit robbery. The police ultimately recovered all but 2 of the 301 certificates that were stolen in the City Bonds robbery. The aftermath of this saga left an indelible mark on the financial landscape, promoting changes in the bond system. The once prevalent paper bills gave way to an entirely electronic process, closing the chapter on a gripping tale that encapsulated the convergence of crime and finance. The City Bonds robbery, renowned for its scale and complexities, remains a historic benchmark in the world of heists, a tale where greed, crime, and investigation intersected into a captivating narrative that echoed through the corridors of the financial world. Thank you for tuning into this Payments Unpacked video. Hit the subscribe button and stay updated on all the latest payment insights. And if payments are your thing and you want more exclusive content, be sure to subscribe to the Payments Unpacked newsletter at payments-unpacked.com. Don't miss out, subscribe now and join us as we unpack the payments landscape.